Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier, and I trust the weekend was good. Of course, I participated in that inside story with Folly Batibo. Can the BRICS counter the West? And one of my points that I was making was subsequently made by Pankaj Mishra in Bloomberg, saying that China is driving the BRICS train, and it's well worth reading. The next Mindspeak is this Saturday, the 26th of July at the Intercontinental Nairobi. I look forward to hosting Joshua Oigara, the CEO of KCB. And of course, they entered into a collaboration with Safaricom not too long ago called BESA Smart. I'll put up a photograph of Joshua from that particular function. There is a link for an interview I did at the end of last year to give some background to what maybe we'll be discussing, and there is also a link about Mindspeak itself. I gave a brief description when Madame Lagarde was my guest in January, and that link's up there, as are all the sessions we've held since since we started filming, which was somewhere around 2011. But we also have some film copies from before. Home thoughts turn to the fact that 45 years ago today, Apollo landed on the moon. I'll put up a photograph of that. And then, of course, the one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And I'll put up an image of the footprint from that day. Of course, there's been a lot of talk that it was all faked, but I can't comment on that. The Kiss, I came across The Kiss on BBC. This is Gustav Klimt, and it's apparently an exhibition in London about love. And there's an Indian poet, Kuti Revati, who says, "Love is a unique language, common to every soul on earth, echoed in every corner of the world, uttered by every silent soul." And I thought that was pretty powerful. From there I jumped to Arthur Rimbaud. Then the storm changed the sky until evening. There were black lands, lakes and poles, colonnades beneath the blue night stations. As I descended into impassable rivers, I no longer felt guided by the ferrymen. It began as research. I wrote of silences, of nights. I scribbled of the indescribable. I tied down the vertigo. Fantastic poet. Political reflections. Petro Poroshenko said, "We are calling this not an incident, not a catastrophe, but a terrorist act." Pepe Escobar says, "Only the terminally brain dead believe shooting a passenger jet benefits the federalists in eastern Ukraine, not to mention the Kremlin." And here's the spin war verdict. The current Malaysian Airlines tragedy, the second in 4 months, is terrorism perpetrated by pro-Russian separatists armed by Russia and Vladimir Putin as the main culprit. End of story. Anyone who believes otherwise, shut up. And a very interesting piece by a guy called Jonathan Jones. The MH17 crash images show us what war in Europe looks like in 2014. This event is formidable enough in its implications, the reality of it hard enough for us to rationally respond to, without the further psychological violence that totally frank photographs might inflict. Television cameras at the place where MH17 fell to earth couldn't help panning back to reveal a vast, low-lying landscape of interminable near-nothingness, a roadside cross dark against a yellow and violet sky, spoke of centuries of quiet farming and rural life, interrupted only by the wars that have churned up Ukraine's history, the tanks that have rolled across this great empty space with its eerie, Rothko-esque light. Returning to the charred field, which in a second turned into a monument to every war that has ever mulched the land of Europe, Video images join with still photographs in documenting a catastrophe like no other. The visual evidence of disaster should by now be banal, over-familiar, and yet it is not, because humility is always finding new ways to destroy humanity. As Tolstoy said of families, all true tragedies look different. That is what makes them so dangerous. The image of two planes flying into the World Trade Center in September 2001 was unlike anyone had ever seen. Terror thrives on the shock of the new. The destruction of Flight MH17 is, of course, by no means proven an act of terrorism as such. Why it was apparently shot out of the sky has yet to be established, but bringing down a civilian airliner with a missile, even if, as appears all too possible, it was mistaken for some other, more relevant target, is plainly an act of horror, written in every twisted, broken, unrecognizable chunk of metal in the images we cannot stop staring at. How is the world going to get past these pictures? Yet the strange fact is that they are restrained and sensitive. None of the images being circulated by news media reveal the details described by reporters at the scene. The Guardian saw body parts everywhere, including a dismembered foot, while the New York Times described children's books and playing cards, a man lying next to an iPhone, and people whose clothes were stripped off them as they fell 32,000 feet. Rightly, the photographers and picture editors chose not to show those things. The wreckage itself communicates all we need to know, more than we need to know, while words, however shocking, leave much to the imagination. Photography is blunt and total realism. A picture of something terrible has a direct ability to scar the mind that words mercifully lack. This event is formidable enough in its implications, the reality of it hard enough for the world to rationally respond to without the further psychological violence that totally frank photographs might inflict. A century on, it is still sickening to see photographs of skeletal First World War soldiers dismembered in their trenches. And what more do we need to know? The severity of destruction in these pictures reveals how the whole living world that is a passenger plane can be reduced to ash and smouldering fragments in no time at all. Looking at these grey pieces of a ruined world, you realize that international flight is the emblem of a global society. People were traveling across the world for holidays or a conference when they flew into an airspace poisoned by the atavistic, primeval madness of nationalism. In reality, all sides in and around Ukraine should be asking themselves, what is this about? A border, a language, pride, power games? How does any of that justify this landscape of destruction? Look into these images and see what war is in August 2014. Powerful article, I thought. I put up a photograph of a Russian-backed separatist entering the MH17 crash site in the village of Grabovo. And then another image I found from @Airline Flyer tracking live flights over Europe on Plane Finder shows Ukraine is, for the most part, a massive no-fly zone. Moving to Gaza, I'm going to put up an image of Shejaiya, which is described as a moonscape strewn with bodies. And I'm afraid, and it's really tragic because it's a prison, that Gaza is a geopolitical orphan. Fox confronted John Kerry with a hot mic comment on Israel when he apparently said, thinking the mic was off, hell of a pinpoint operation. It's escalating significantly, the person on the phone replies, and Kerry then says, we've got to get over there. I think we ought to go tonight. He then calls it crazy to be sitting around. Put up a photograph of John Kerry kicking a soccer ball. Another photograph of Israeli soldiers standing on top of their tanks and armoured personnel carriers across from the northern Gaza Strip. And finally an image of a doctor crying while standing next to a table with the bodies of 4 dead children in an overflowing morgue of the Shifa hospital in Gaza City. Currency markets, the euro bounced to 135.48. Apparently traders were buying below 135. Dollar index 80.47. Japanese yen 101.22. Markets closed in Japan today for a public holiday. Swiss franc 0.8972. Pound 170.98. A little bit lower. Aussie coming back to 94.9396. India rupee 60.22. South Korean won firmer 1026.75. The Real firmer 222.52. Egyptian pound stronger 713.66, a level we've not seen for a while. South African rand firmer as well at 1065.18. I'll put up a 3-month chart of euro dollar. Got some buying going below 135. Bounced it a little bit higher here. Dollar index 80.47. And actually it's remained well supported here. We're in the middle of the range. You need to cross above 81 to really get things going. But we haven't done that for a considerable time. JP Morgan wrote, our sense remains that at least for the moment markets will likely continue to treat geopolitical events as localized risks and not macro destabilizing events. Coming to commodity markets, gold was last at 1311.88. I'll put up a 1-month chart of that. Dipped below 1300, bounced back above it. Crude oil 101.89, as I said, great buy below 100. Let's see how it sort of trades going forward. Coming to sub-Saharan Africa, I'm going to post an image of a damaged plane at Libya's main airport following clashes between rival militias. And go back to that piece I wrote on the 24th of October 2011, Gaddafi's body in a freezer, what's the message? Wall Street Journal has an interesting piece called The United States of Africa, Not Yet. Some pretty sarcastic comments. They hold hands, kiss each other, sometimes even shed tears, says one senior bank official who has attended Pan-Africa summits in which leaders rhapsodize about fused economic futures. Monday morning, there's nothing. It's all forgotten. This is referencing the US-Africa Heads of State Summit. It's going to be held imminently. And then it's saying that signs of integration are slowly surfacing, may help spur further growth. The US-Africa Summit is likely to reinforce what some experts say has become central to Africa's future. Unity is no longer about ideology, but economics. Good point. Establish the veins through which the economy's lifeblood will flow, says Jackie Cilliers. No one leader can push African integration. Those days are gone and they should be gone. And I think, the EAC, the SADC, COMESA, ECOWAS are actually leading Africa's consolidation. Clock speeds vary, but I think, economic interests are driving increasing consolidation across the continent. South Sudanese rebels and government soldiers clashed in the northern town of Nasir on Sunday, adding to fears that a shaky ceasefire agreement signed in May could totally collapse. Rebel spokesman Louis Ruai Koang said troops loyal to Riek Machar launched an assault on the government-held town and at dawn liberated Nasir. Keep an eye on that. Investors are watching potential liabilities of Banco Espirito Santo's 12-year-old Angolan unit as a fault line in an escalating affair that has already roiled global markets. Banco Nacional de Angola Governor José de Lima Massano broke his government silence on the matter, saying that the BESA Angolan subsidiary had problems with its credit portfolio. We have operations in an irregular state, so bad credit operations, Massano said in Thursday's statements to the Angolan parliament. The BESA is majority owned by BES, Banco Espirito Santo, and is one of the most active lenders in Africa's second largest oil producer. The government of Angola, former Portuguese colony, in December guaranteed euro 4.2 billion, or 70% of the loan portfolio of BESA. Apparently, the bank has links to the ruling elite and family of President José Eduardo dos Santos. So we've got to keep an eye on that as well. France's President Francois Hollande waves as he boards a plane to depart from Félix Houphouët-Boigny International Airport in Abidjan. He said Niger's security, West Africa's security is France's security. This is what he told French military personnel outside Niamey. What can happen in Niger can touch our own security, our own interests, our own population. So while you are here ensuring the security of Niger, you are also ensuring the security of France, he said. The operation, dubbed Bakani after the name of a kind of sand dune formed by desert winds, will be based in Chad, receive logistical support from bases in Senegal, Ivory Coast and Gabon. And I'll put up another picture that the Lycée posted, Tout savoir sur le voyage de François Hollande au Niger. I think that's an image. And then very interesting video they put on Vine as the night fell in Abidjan. Renzi, the Italian Prime Minister, meets with BESA in Maputo, the first Italian head of government to visit Mozambique. During a champagne lunch with President Armando Guebuza, Renzi said that the visit was the result of an invitation made in Brussels earlier this year. I am sure he did not actually think I would come, but I am here, Renzi said jokingly. Guebuza called the relationship between the two countries excellent. Powerful delegation includes NE CEO Claudio Descalzi, as well as the main business lobby, Confindustria, is accompanying the Premier. South African all-share is up 11.7584% in 2014, eased 0.18% on Friday. Dollar versus rand, that strengthened to 10.6512. I think we might strengthen a bit more post that rate hike. Marginal, I know, but I think a good signal. Fitch has affirmed that the city of Johannesburg is BBB outlook stable. Egyptian pound last trading firmer at 713.74. Egyptian stock market eased 0.72%, but remains plus 26.437% this year. The Nigerian all shares plus 3.779% this year and at a 2008 high. Nigerian drinks company Chi Limited is exploring options, including a potential sale that could value it as much as $1 billion, according to sources familiar with the matter. Lagos-based maker of juices, nectars, milk and yogurt drinks and snack foods is being advised by Citigroup. Ghana Stock Exchange is plus 8.71% in 2014, retreated 0.41% on Friday. The Bank of Ghana said the yield on its 91-day bill rose to a fresh 3-year high of 24.835%. Friday's auction. Oboe, Central African Republic, knives, ropes, tarpaulins, AK-47s and gun lubricant. This is how rebel leader Likoni has not been seen in years, and whenever his pursuers get close, he is believed to flee to a safe haven in Kafia Kingi, a disputed enclave controlled by Sudan. According to Newsweek, American Quakers are running an underground railroad to help LGBT Ugandans flee. A group of American Quakers are operating what they call a new underground railroad to help a few LGBT Ugandans flee their country, where a recent law imposes harsh penalties for homosexuality. The Friends New Underground Railroad, FNUR, based in Washington State, sees itself as continuing the work of Quakers who historically helped slaves escape the American South. As of this Monday, they say they have worked with unnamed Ugandan conductors to fund and coordinate passage out of the country for 107 lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender Ugandans, 9 of whom reached Sweden, while several dozen others are being processed for asylum status in countries around the world. Coming to Kenya, John Williams, who writes for The New Yorker, tweeted a post from the Washington Post, map potentially hostile airspaces US flights don't fly through. I'm going to put up an image of that map. Then you'll notice I just retweeted it and it caused a huge hullabaloo on Twitter. And the net effect was he was referencing an FAA notice to US operators concerning possible attacks with man-portable air defense systems, MANPADS. This is an alert issued by the FAA. Attention US operators, Kenya advisory. Attention US operators, recent credible information indicates a potential near-term terrorist attack against US and Western interests in Kenya. While specific details are not available, one possible tactic would be an attack using man-portable air defense systems, MANPADS, such as those used against an Israeli air carrier departing from Mombasa, Kenya on November 28, 2002. The Department of State has issued a travel warning regarding a potential MANPADS threat. So that's a bit concerning, and there was a lot of debate on social media, but that's alarming. Gunmen kill at least 4 people in Kenya's port city of Mombasa, scatter leaflets. Gunmen killed at least 4 people. Witnesses said gunmen went on a shooting rampage on the edge of Kenya's largest city and scattered leaflets saying the attack was retribution for last month's raid on Peketoni, a town about 300 kilometers north of Mombasa. Some suspects shot at people indiscriminately, and as a result 4 people have been killed and several others injured, said Robert Kitua. They did not steal anything, they just shot. Kitua said the police were pursuing the gunman. Peter Musyoki, a resident in Mombasa's Likoni area where this attack occurred, witnessed the shooting. He said 2 masked men toting a rifle and a pistol haphazardly shot at passers-by. I saw 2 men dressed in black with a red ribbon around their heads. He said they walked on foot and were just shooting carelessly at anyone they saw. The latest attack obviously will further dent Kenya's beleaguered tourist industry after a wave of militant attacks and will deepen public frustrations about poor security. Somalia's Al-Shabaab militants have claimed responsibility for many of the attacks, but the government, including President Kenyatta, has suggested local politicians were behind the incidents. Critics say the comments by Kenyatta and ethnic Kikuyu were political point scoring against Raila Odinga, a Luo who lost to Kenyatta in last year's elections. Leaflets distributed at Likoni warning Odinga and his community could further fan an already tense political atmosphere in Kenya. This is a revenge for our brothers who were killed in Peketoni, and you Luos, you won't stay in peace, and you Raila, if you have anything to do, just do. We are not fearing you at all, said one of the leaflets. Several Western governments, including the US and Britain, have issued travel warnings advising their citizens to avoid Mombasa. I'll put up a photograph of the ferry at Likoni, and I remember sitting on it the last time I was there and thinking to myself how unsafe I really was. And in September 2012 I wrote about this. You can see it's Zanzibar today, Lamu tomorrow, Mombasa. And I said my concern remains that what appear like uncorrelated spikes and paroxysms of violence conflate, become more broad-based and amplify. On that note, I'll put up a link for the video that I shot when we met dolphins on the way to Asini Island, so dreamy and lovely. And I also said on the 28th of August 2012 that the Swahili coast is a potential tinderbox from Lamu through Zanzibar and all points in between. Al-Shabaab said the attack near Witu in Lamu County was a clear response to the government of Kenya's false claim that they beefed up security in the area. Group's military spokesman Abdulaziz Abu Musab told the AFP agency that the group was ready to act or attack anywhere necessary within Kenya. We still don't know how many of the passengers may have been hijacked. The bus is riddled with bullets. 2 lorries which were carrying mangoes were also attacked. Robin Creel posted pictures of the bus attacked in Lamu County, headed from Lamu to Mombasa. Brian Duggan said that the bus conductor said the woman was in command. Shejaiya Patel makes the following claim. Lamu, Kenya's rentier class, learnt this from Tana Delta. Get the people off the land before you sell it to Qatar. Put up a photograph of the setting sun, and Marga Kaiser, who I follow, and she's down on the coast, posted this saying I'm at Governor Timami's residence in Lamu, but there was a lovely painting she's posted, so I'll put that up. Kenya shillings pretty quiet at 87.82. Nairobi all share firm to 0.34%. It's up 10.903% this year. NSE 20 down 0.324% in 2014. KCB and Britam closed at record highs on Friday. KCB is plus 14.285% in 2014. Britam is plus 48.51%. I expect the market to glide higher on lower interest rates. I think that moment will soon be upon us. Once again, thank you for stopping by. Wishing you a super week.